This is the sandwich generation. This is going to ruffle some feathers, just because it could be you. But first, we'll warm up with a few dragon thoughts. So I was watching, and I'll put this in the notes of the podcast. I was watching the amazing Brene Brown, and I know many of you got any Brene Brown fans out there. She's just so awesome. She's just like, I just love the way she's so transparent in how she can just laugh at the world. But she was just talking about vulnerability. She's got this amazing, viral video on YouTube. Just look up Brene Brown and vulnerability, but I'll put it in the notes. But she says vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. Isn't that true? We talk so much about being uncomfortable. Vulnerability is the ultimate, this is me, vulnerability is the ultimate version of stepping outside of your comfort zone, right? Isn't that what we're afraid of, right? We think we're afraid of failure and overwhelm, but it's the susceptibility to it, the vulnerability, making ourselves vulnerable to something. That's where the fear is, I think it's associated with. So if you can practice getting comfortable, not only with uncomfortable, but with being vulnerable, oof, look out for you, right? Stepping outside of the comfort zone in search of growth. It's the ultimate version of that. So it's the primary ingredient in baking a success and happiness pie. So if you're seeking success today, physical, mental, financial success, whatever you call success, one of the number one ingredients, even beyond failure, right, is vulnerability. You have to become susceptible to change, creating space of change, and that might require getting out of your own way. So these rise ups that I have every morning, that many of you are starting to join, and I really encourage you to, if you learn something today, give it away. That's how it'll stay. Share this with people, pay this forward. But these rise ups, I realized today, are my best friend. These rise ups are my best friend, and my best friend never lets me down. So I wrote that. And then to my beautiful wife, my chicken, I wrote this. I said, I am wide open to the idea of falling in love as we fall apart. It's such a beautiful thing, because what we're going through right now, that's happening for us, is everything that could possibly go wrong in the realm of like a normal life has been going wrong. But it forces you to say, is it going wrong? Is it happening to us, or is it happening for us? Because as soon as you switch to it's happening for us, it's not going wrong. It's going just right. So the idea of all of these crazy things, we're homeless right now. We're moving out. We're moving to South Africa to complete this process with our daughter and the adoption and stuff. When you guys see us coming home from South Africa, we are going to be a family. And after almost 3 years, all of this crazy work, and everything, the movers, and just constantly every day we're getting punched in the mouth with knuckle sandwiches. But oh my God, I couldn't imagine doing this game of life without her. So as we get into the sandwich generation, she shared with me this morning something that she says, tradition, listen to this, tradition is just peer pressure that has been delivered upon us from our dead ancestors. Soak that in for a second. Tradition is just peer pressure that has been delivered upon you by your dead ancestors. So I started to think about this, and this is how I came up on the sandwich generation. I don't know if you've ever heard of this. In the Chinese culture, there's something called filial piety. Filial piety, which is spelled Filial and then Piety. Filial piety is a Confucian, right? Confucian derived concept from the Chinese culture that talks about advocating the moral values attached to the practice of caring for your parents. Wow. Isn't that crazy? So in studying that, I happened upon this concept called the sandwich generation, and we're all part of it, right? Partaking it at different levels. But the sandwich generation is this. It's defined by a generation that both finds itself and feels responsible to care for both their children, right, and their parents. More specifically, It's adults who are part of this sandwich generation. Um, those who are have a living parent age 65 or older and are either raising a child under age 18 or supporting a grown child. That's what the sandwich generation is. And they're pulled in many, many directions. So here's my question as we look at this idea. Because remember, all we're doing is removing the blindfolds, meaning becoming aware of things that we're unaware of, right? We're running our program very often, and sometimes it's an awakening to just say, holy shit, that's me. Right now, from that place of awakening, you get to decide: is this okay? Am I okay with me? Because I'll bring that up, or do I want more? Do I want more before I expire? So here's my question: who's taking care of you while you're taking care of everyone? Right? I know a lot of people resonate with that. Who's taking care of you? Is the goal to train your kids? By the way, you have, remember what I said, tradition is just peer pressure from your dead ancestors. If you are part of the sandwich generation, who taught you how to be part of the sandwich generation? Right? It's been programmed into you. So is the goal, by being part of this sandwich generation, is the goal to train your kids as well, by example, to take the role or burden of this sandwich as well? This is a very controversial thing. And I know in cultures, it's actually viewed as living an enriched life by giving up your life for others. Many, many religions and cultures show you that giving up your life for others is actually living life to the fullest. Isn't that an interesting concept, right? I don't know how you feel about that. For me, it's not interesting. Or is there a need and value in your own self-care and also your own life experience? Can your life experience exist beyond being the hero for everyone else? So yes, I know it's not easy and perhaps perceived as impossible because you've been programmed. When you're programmed into thinking, seeing, thinking, and responding and doing a certain way, it's almost impossible sometimes to see any other way, because we kind of protect ourselves and justify that position. However, isn't everything that we truly want and desire on the other side of impossible? So if you see something as impossible today, remember that everything that you want and desire sits on the other side of that pile of shit, that impossible, right? So what's the value of self-care and paying that forward to your next generation? Because remember, if you're part of the sandwich generation, that's what you're paying forward. If you're part of the self-care generation, which is not a selfish thing, it's self-care, right? To be honest with you, if you're the kind of person that likes to help others, well, self-care will make you even better at it. But what do you want to pay forward to your children? Well, apparently, if you're in a sandwich, you like to care for others. There's nothing wrong with that. I love that. That's a nurturing thing. Almost identify with it as who you are, whether a healthy or unhealthy behavior. If that's on your list as important, then self-care will mean being of better service to others. So if you're struggling with self-care because all you do is take care of others, then you need to identify that self-care will make you better at that. Right? We set a goal, our North Star, and we make it so bright and meaningful that we'll do anything to get it. So that's it. If you're a nurse to everybody else, a nurturer, then work on yourself as well. You'll be better at it. Could be dangerous. Did you know that self-care and improving your health triggers the side effect of increased mental clarity and raised consciousness? When I lost 80 pounds 17 years ago, I didn't know that. I didn't know that I would establish mental clarity, right? So we say, on a healthy body rests a healthy mind. So perhaps that may help you identify these unhealthy and unnecessary overdone aspects of your potentially unconscious activities. You know what that means? If you get physically healthy right now, therefore secondary to that, establish mental clarity, maybe that's what you need to be able to become conscious of your unconscious stuff, right? I think that's the number one thing anybody can do. That's why I decided to become a health coach. I help people get physically healthy, but what they don't know is that the bigger side effect is not just what the scale says or how they feel, it's how they change, right? On a healthy body rests a healthy mind. So things that may not be of value to those that you care for. Perhaps a bit of a hero role, right? That's what this could be about. Nobody's actually asking you for help, but they get it anyway. You've been programmed, it's expected, but there's no actual somebody saying, hey, I want you to give up your life and help me. You're coming up with that idea. Yet you feel compelled to care for everyone. Can you see how this may have been paid forward to you by somebody else? Right? Can you identify, stop right now and pause and just say, it's not about blaming, but can you see how that you've been programmed to think this? So you can stop this programming if you want, or you can pay it forward if you're good with it. You get to choose. Another part of your programming by your programmers. Oh, yes. An awakening indeed to recognize this. That's the first step of my interface response system, is to awaken and recognize what's actually going on before. Eckhart Tolle says that the first step to end suffering is the recognition that you are. Might want to know why you're suffering too. So remember, on a healthy body rests a healthy mind. Start your reprogramming by focusing on your own health. Can't say that enough. Today, I honor you for your noble sacrifice. If you're part of the sandwich generation and you're giving up your life, it's interesting because if your culture says give up your adulthood life or that prime of your life for others, that's a big sacrifice. So I honor you. That's a very, very noble thing to do. But are you aware of it? Are you aware of it? And are you also aware that nobody's asked you to do it? But today for you, here's your gift. I give you permission to be selfish, right? And there's nothing wrong with being selfish because human beings don't think, say, or do anything without having value to it. We're value-seeking missiles. So if you do something for yourself today, you go on with your selfish self, right? You're allowed to do that because the reason why you do things for others is selfish as well. It makes you feel good, right? To do what you were taught to do. So I give you permission to be selfish today and practice serving yourself, self-care. And I forgive you for you knew not what you were doing if you just woke up today. So do it for you, but even more so, do it for those that you're going to pay it forward to, your kids, the next generation, so that they don't spend the greatest days of their life feeling the burden to take care of other people and not themselves. Make sense? Well, I sure hope so. This was a special one, right? And I implore you to get involved in taking these messages if they move you, because I get a lot of positive feedback. Thank you, Dragon, for doing this. This really changed. This really spoke to me. Pay it forward. Give it to somebody else. It'll help you if you pay it forward. And you can do that by welcoming somebody to the concept of the Rise Up Challenge. You can invite them to the Rise Up with Dragon Facebook community where all of these sit. We have a YouTube channel as well where the edited versions. We have a podcast where I do these sub 5-minute cleaned up podcast versions of this, which I'll do right after this for those people that are on the go. But pay it forward and do something about it today. Whenever somebody comes up to me, if I get off stage and they go, hey, what you said really, really spoke to me and it really changed me. And I go, what are you going to do about it? Right. So just remember, you control your reality, right? And it's just about, flipping that right protection switch that you've been unconsciously having closed, meaning you're not open to any new information, new programming. Just flip that sucker off today and just be open and curious to the possibilities of what would happen if you just change the way you look at things. Well, the things you look at will change, right? So love and appreciate you. Have an amazing day. And I will see you tomorrow.